Welcome back. And thank you for joining in to talk about the Lasso Effect. We're still talking about season one, and we're now on to episode two. And today we're talking about curiosity over expertise. In the first episode, we talked about belief. Belief is what gets a leader started. It's especially when they are not necessarily the expert in the room. Today is about what keeps leaders moving forward once they're on that path, once belief is in place. That thing is curiosity. So let's get started. The leadership myth. There's this myth that leaders must always know all of the answers, that they must be the ones that have all of the solutions. And this is one of the most persistent myths in leadership. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned that credibility comes from certainty, from knowing, from being the person in the room with all the answers. But that belief often shows up quietly, and we feel pressure to speak first, to solve quickly, to avoid saying, I don't know. But that pressure slowly erodes something essential. The reality is that credentials, they open the doors, but it's the curiosity that's going to keep them open. In reality, the strongest leaders, they simply ask better questions. It's the leader who creates the most trust, the most engagement, and the most growth are not the ones necessarily with the fastest answers. They're the ones that open the space to questions. They invite contribution with their questions, and their questions signal confidence, not a weakness. And don't get me wrong, expertise is vital in any area that you are in. There needs to be talent there and a passion and a drive, but it is not the only thing that matters. Expertise relies on what is already known. However, curiosity does something different. It explores what's possible. Expertise can protect certainty, but curiosity expands perspective. And in a world that is constantly changing, adaptability matters more than certainty. What curiosity signals is confidence. It's not weakness to ask those questions. When a leader asks thoughtful questions, people don't think less of them. They think, okay, this person is secure, they're listening, and they value what I see. They value my opinion. They value my expertise in this endeavor. And speaking from a known leadership position, it is important to include your team to develop their belief in themselves, and the way you do that is allowing them to bring forth those answers, to be a part of the solution. Curiosity tells a room that it's safe to think out loud, that brainstorming is okay, that there is a solution out there and we're more likely to find it together. And you know what? It's that safety where the best ideas live, because you have the ability to be creative and come up with out of the box solutions without anybody naysaying them. That gives you the opportunity then to look at that from a different direction, and what seemed out of reach might actually be possible. You just have to turn it around and look at it from a new perspective. It is that curiosity, that openness to questions, that ability to say, hey, I don't know everything, and I definitely value your opinion going into this situation. So when that curiosity begins to fade, when that leader stops asking what is going on, stops finding out what is on the minds of their people, where they're at, and how they're functioning, the team changes. Ideas get quieter and innovation slow, and meetings become performative instead of collaborative. Often leaders feel this shift before they can explain it. You can feel when your people are not with you, when their eyes are not as engaged, when they're glazed over, when they're missing the point of why they're together. So something just feels off. That engagement drops, trust feels thinner. And many times that missing ingredient is simply curiosity. Curiosity isn't a soft skill, it is a leadership advantage. It is strategic. And because it widens perspective, it allows curious leaders to see those patterns sooner. They hear concerns earlier, they make better decisions, and because they have more information, they're able to go farther on the input and the synergy that they've created within their group. Curiosity always lead allows leaders to respond instead of react. And that's really where the real influence shows up. So, how does this fit back into the lasso effect connection? Well, remember, belief started that journey. It got us to the point where our members begin to trust us. So this is that next step. Belief starts the journey and curiosity keeps it moving forward. In the lasso effect, belief is the starting point. It gives leaders permission to step forward even without that expertise. Curiosity is what keeps belief alive. It turns confidence into learning and learning into momentum. So, how are you going to practice this? Well, this week's leadership practice is about curiosity and in small and intentional ways. Ask one question before offering an answer. Replace an I know with tell me more. Get curious about one person and not just one problem. Review one of your processes as if you're seeing it for the first time. Look at it from a new direction. These are all small shifts, but they compound quickly and they build on each other and they create a habit. And being curiosity is a great habit to have. So think about in your leadership, where has curiosity quietly faded in your leadership? Where have you stopped asking for answers or input? Who have you decided that you know well enough that you don't have to ask those questions? I I urge you to look throughout your organization and find those areas where you can be more curious, ask more questions. So it's not a judgment that I want you to look over your leadership, but with awareness. Curiosity often fades under pressure. Not because we stop caring, but because we start protecting ourselves, because we are in a state of urgency and we are living under that panic mode. So, to disengage that, take a step back and awareness is that first step back and become that curious leader. So let's recap what we talked about today. Bringing it all together, why curiosity matters. It builds trust faster than expertise ever could. It keeps leaders adaptable and accountable. It invites better thinking from others, and it reduces ego driven decisions because you're not making that decision all on your own from the knowledge that you have. You are getting that collective feedback and preparing to step forward with better knowledge. Curiosity is not about knowing less, it is about staying open longer, being flexible, being able to hear what your people need to know and how they're doing in their positions. So, in closing, I want to leave you with this. Leadership is not diminished when you stop pretending you have all the answers. It is strengthened when you show people you are willing to learn alongside them. Belief starts the journey, curiosity keeps it alive. That is the Lasso Effect. We hope to see you next time when we're talking about EQ is greater than ego. Awareness is authority. Thank you for joining in, and we'll catch you on the flip side.